Okay, the body cameras are recording. Today is Monday, March 25th, 2024. The time is 5:02 p.m. We are inside a conference room located within the Disabled Persons Protection Unit located at 300 Granite Street, 4th floor in Braintree. I am Detective Captain Eric Benson with the Massachusetts State Police, and I'm joined today by
Captain George Barrios, Mass State Police.
And we're conducting an audio and video recorded interview of, could you please state your name, ma'am?
Courtney Elberg.
And it's E-L-L-B-U-R-G?
One L, so E-L-B-U-R-G.
Okay, thank you. And your date of birth? And your address?
What was the address again?
And a phone number. Okay, and that's a cell.
Yes.
All right. Any alternative numbers? That's pretty much your best point.
Yeah, no phone.
Okay, perfect. And so just to rehash, for the benefit of the record, how we came to be here. Early afternoon today, I gave you a call on your cell phone.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and I introduced myself as a detective captain with the state police, and I indicated that I've been asked to investigate or inquire about the relationship between your brother, who is Trooper Michael Proctor.
Correct.
And Julie and Christopher Albert.
Yes.
And I indicated that I felt that speaking to you was important to sort of establishing that relationship because it seemed like you sort of sat in the middle of that relationship.
Yes,
Is that
correct.
essentially accurate?
Correct.
So I asked what your availability was, and it seemed like you had conflicts during the day due to work, but you indicated that you were available this evening.
Yes.
Then proposed that we meet for an interview at this location. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay, and then after confirming that, I left you a voicemail to confirm the same.
Yes.
And then you called, 10 minutes ago to indicate that you were here.
Yes, correct.
Okay, and then we walked up and sat down here, sort of explained again who we were, what we were doing, and asked if you had any questions before we started the tape.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. And just for the benefit of the record, do you know who I am? Have we ever met?
No, I don't remember your name, Captain.
No,
okay.
That's perfectly fine.
But we've never met before.
For the record, I don't believe that I have ever met Courtney.
No, I've never met either of you.
No. And Captain Barrios?
Nor have I. This is the first time we're meeting.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, and so we'll just get right into it. Do you know Julie and Chris Albert?
Yes, I know them.
How do you know them?
Julie is the older sister of my friend Jillian, and I met Jillian when we both began junior high in 1991 at the Galvin Middle School. We both started there in 6th grade, and that's when I struck up a friendship with Jillian, and we were friends since then, and Julie is her older sister.
Are you still friends with Jillian?
Yes.
She still lives locally?
Yes.
And how much older is Julie than Jillian and than you?
So I'm gonna be 45. I think Julie. She 50? Yeah, Julie's either 5 or 6 years older than me.
Okay.
I feel like when we were freshmen in high school, Julie had already graduated like the year before, so there's probably about a 4 or 5 year age gap.
Okay, so the Julie was quite a bit older. I guess,
Yeah.
from a sixth grade standpoint.
Oh yeah, yes, yeah. Especially when you're a freshman in high school, and
Yeah. So, did your relationship evolve over time?
Yeah, so for most of my friendship with Jillian in junior high and throughout high school and a little bit after college, Julie, like I knew Julie, I was at Jillian's house a lot, so I knew who she was. But shortly after Julie graduated high school, she had her first child, and I went off to college, so we didn't really strike up. Our paths didn't reconnect until well after I had finished college and moved back from Connecticut, and I was back in Massachusetts. And Julie by then had 3 young boys, and saw her a little bit more often. And I would, if Jillian had her nephews and I was with Jill, like I got to help babysit the nephews and things like that. So it really wasn't until like my mid-20s where I honestly got to really know Julie a little bit more, because in junior high and high school I was her youngest sister's annoying friends. Like it really, I knew who she was, but it really wasn't until later that we made our own kind of friendship.
Okay. And so in your mid-20s after college you come back here, and then you're still friendly with Jillian, but now you're more peers, with Julie than you were in your childhood because of the age differences and so.
Yeah, and Jillian would watch her nephews, and we would sometimes help Jillian watch her nephews, and that's how I got to become a little bit closer to Julie. She was home with 3 boys.
Okay. And so over time you got Julie's phone number and started to talk to her, and sort of without having to go. Was it a situation when you were younger? Obviously you'd go through Jillian almost entirely, and then at a certain time it just sort of became a thing where you would talk to Julie directly. And
yeah, I think a couple of times I might have helped babysit one of the boys from time to time. Jillian we could have been on a group text. So yeah, eventually I had my own connection and my own direct contact with Julie.
Okay. And how would you describe your relationship with Julie now, or over the past several years?
So when I got married and my husband and I settled back into Canton, and we had our 2 young kids. Julie, helped. When I went back to work, I didn't want to put my kids in daycare. Her boys were at that point in high school and middle school, so they didn't need her as much, and she didn't work. So it was someone familiar that one could be like, help me with watching my kids. And I just didn't want to put my kids in a daycare facility. So my parents watched my kids for a few days, and then Julie watched my kids for a few days, and it worked out. It was someone who I knew, family I've known for a long time and I trusted, and she helped provide daycare for my children. So her and I definitely got closer over the last few years, because she helped watch my kids.
Right.
So we talked pretty regularly because of that.
How many days, when did she start watching your kids?
So when she watched for me in the summers, and that was, I was born in 2013. I went back to work 3 months later, so she watched a couple of days a week for me until I went off to preschool. And then there was a period where, before I was born, where Julie didn't help with preschool, and then I was born in 2016, and then she watched for 2 to 3 days a week for me, up until he went to kindergarten, which was 2 years ago.
Okay, so between 2013 with a small break and 2022?
Yeah.
So for 9 years or so?
Yeah, off and on. Watched my kids 2 to 3 days a week.
Okay. All right, and would she watch other people's kids at the same time, or was it just your kids?
It was just my kids.
Okay. And obviously over the course of that time you became somewhat closer.
Yeah.
Because,
got my kids.
daily interaction,
Yeah.
and she has your kids.
Yeah.
So, okay. In terms of socially, obviously, you had a sort of a business relationship in some way with her, friendly business relationship, something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it was business because I paid her. So yeah.
Yeah. But aside from that, did you? What was your social interaction? Your pure social interaction like with her?
I don't like. We didn't hang out. I was a young mom, so it wasn't like I was going out a lot, and she wasn't really someone that went out a lot. But we talked regularly. She honestly gave me advice about kids. Like when one of the kids had the stomach bug, she would be someone I would go to say, what do I do? I don't have an older sister, and sometimes my mom, her advice was from when my brother and I were young in the 80s, and things change, and there's new ways to swaddle kids than my mom knew. So sure. Julie was someone who just raised 3 boys, and I would ask her lots of questions about infants and toddlers. I saw her a lot because she was either coming to pick up the kids or drop them off, but it wasn't like I went out on the weekends with her all the time. It was just most of my socializing was because she was coming to my house with the kids.
Okay. All right. And would you see her at sort of birthday parties, family parties and such? Would she come to your house for your kids' parties and such?
Yeah. So, first time mom, I had extravagant birthday parties for my daughter. My poor son kind of got gypped. But Julie and Chris and the 3 boys were always invited to my children's birthday parties. My son's birthday falls around Thanksgiving, so they would come over for dessert, bring him a gift. So bigger family functions that were really around my kids, they would be at.
Okay, so mostly birthday parties. Were they at your wedding?
Yeah, so Jillian was my maid of honor, and Julie and Chris were invited. Julie and Chris's brother was invited. Julie and Jillian's mother was invited. Pretty much the whole family that was still living was invited. One of Julie's sons, Colin, was my ring bearer. And during those years where I helped Jillian watch her nephews, I had a soft spot for Colin because he was a young boy who had a lot of anxiety, and I just kind of made a connection with him, and he was my little buddy, and so he was a ring bearer in my wedding. Okay.
And obviously at these, so your social interaction was in a lot of ways limited to things revolving around your kids, for the obvious connection there at your house, and also your wedding.
Or if Jillian had a function for her, like if Jillian said, "Hey everybody, I want to go out and celebrate my birthday,"
right,
I would see Julie obviously there.
Because you'd go out, okay.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah,
there would be times where it would be sort of a birthday celebration for Jillian, or maybe Julie's birthday, where you.
Yeah, I would be invited to Julie's birthday. I was invited to Chris's birthday.
Did that happen a lot, or was that pretty much during that 9-year period of time? Was that like sort of the norm that you would be invited? And
I think Julie had a surprise 45th or 50th birthday party for Chris. I was invited to that. No, there was never a birthday party for Julie. She hated that stuff for herself. So I would say, when their brother died, we were at a wake and funeral for the brother. When the father died, I was at the wake and funeral for the father. So those type of functions is where I would see them over that course of 9 years.
Right. Okay. And at some of those functions, your brother was present?
He was present at my wedding.
Right.
And he was present at my kids' birthday parties. But he was not present at any of their functions that they hosted.
So your brother, and your brother being Trooper Proctor,
yeah,
he was present obviously at his your kids' birthday parties, which were held at your house.
My house or my parents' house.
Your parents' house. And did he interact with, how does I guess it segues nicely. How does your brother, or how did your brother, or did your brother come to know Julie and Chris Albert and their family?
I mean, the age gap with Julie and I is about 5 years, so the age gap between her and my brother is even bigger. So there was never any like overlap in schooling. He came to know them through me. Michael knew, obviously, Jillian was a close friend of mine. He knew she had an older sister, an older brother, and 2 older brothers. But it really wasn't until like my mid-20s when we were all out of college and all kind of came back to this area where we kind of, all the high school friends kind of all reconnected. Mm-hmm. And so when I had the kids and she was helping, that's when he would see her. Mm-hmm. Like if she was home, if she stopped by to drop the kids off and my brother happened to be at my house, he would see her that way. Or obviously at these parties, he would see her, and the wedding. And it was just like, oh, hey, how you doing? Just being friendly because he knew who she was, and obviously he knew that she was watching his niece and nephew, but it was just more of in passing they saw each other and they were at the same events.
Okay. And did you while they were at these events, was there a lot of interaction, or was it the interaction sort of in passing?
It was more in passing. I mean, at specifically my children's birthday, it was a lot of family and friends. So my brother knew everybody there. So he was circulating around, and Julie and Chris only kind of knew a few people there.
Right.
So, when it's a party, you talk to everybody there, but it wasn't like he only hung out with them. It was right. Like, hey, how you doing? Things like that.
Okay. So, I guess to sum it up, what would you say your view of your brother's relationship is with Julie and Chris Albert?
He knows who they are. He's friendly, but it's my sister's friends. That's really the extent of it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you want to ask it a little differently. Like, I don't know what you mean by, like...
No, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
So essentially, your brother knows who they are.
Yeah.
He knows that they're friendly with you.
Yes. He
knows that Julie babysits your kids and enjoys somewhat of a quasi-close relationship with you, because if it's a 9-year relationship watching your kids, I think by the very nature of that, it has to be at least a quasi-close,
and I
trusting relationship.
Yes.
But did you ever know him to socialize with them without you?
Never. No. He didn't even have their phone numbers.
Okay.
He had to ask me for their phone numbers.
All right.
When he needed it.
And when did he ask you for their phone numbers? When the investigation started, and he was having to go and go and talk to a bunch of different people. A few weeks into it, he goes, "Oh, I think I have to talk to Julie and Chris. Can you send me Julie's cell phone number? I don't have it." So that was February of 2022. So it wasn't like he ever had direct contact with her, ever, like, and texted her in a social way, or Chris. There's some suggestion that there might have been some text messages between your brother and Julie that predates that. Do you have any sense at all of what those could have been? No, I don't. I think the only thing that I know at that time, Michael and Elizabeth's his wife, their daycare was up in the air. And I remember saying to Michael, like, hey, maybe you'd want to consider Julie to help out in the interim until you find a permanent daycare. Mm-hmm. And so it could have been in that context, but not that I'm aware of, that there was communication. And what was his response? What was the end result of that? did Julie ever end up babysitting?
No, she never ended up babysitting. I quite frankly don't even remember if he reached out to her to ask.
Did you say that you were going to ask, or did
I just suggested it to them because they were in their daycare person last minute said I can't take. My sister-in-law was supposed to go back to work in 2 weeks, and I said, and they were kind of frantic, scrambling to figure out who was going to watch. And I suggested, hey, you might want to consider Julie. Was about to go into kindergarten, so I wasn't going to need her anymore. Okay. And I was like, hey, might be someone to consider because I know like you're scrambling. But it was just a suggestion than anything.
Okay. All right. So you don't believe that Julie ever babysat for your brother?
No.
Okay. And you don't even know if he ever asked her?
Correct. I don't.
Okay. Did you ask her if she would be able to?
Yeah, I did say, would you, if Michael were to reach out, would you be willing to? And she's like, yeah. But then I said, okay, I'll suggest you. I didn't want to suggest her without her she would be okay with that.
But the onus was on him.
The onus was on him, yeah.
Okay. And you don't believe that ever happened?
No.
Okay. And Julie never told you that, did it?
No.
Okay. And Julie never told you that she babysat for him?
Correct, no.
Okay. Do you know if Julie or Chris ever were at your brother's house? Was there ever an occasion where they went over to your brother's house?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Going back to this possibility that there would be text messages between your brother and Julie prior to February 2022. Is there a possibility that he would have found himself on a text thread, like a group text that included Julie and Chris at
possibly,
some period of time?
Possibly. My son was a bit mischievous at his school, so there were times where we did have a group text where Julie would text me saying, got in trouble, and there could have been a group text where I included my brother to kind of tease that, at 3 years old, my son got sent down to the principal's office, so there could have been a group text where because my brother and I tease each other a lot, so there could have been a group text where I added my brother to kind of tease about getting in trouble at school, because that happened a few times. So it's possible there was a group text, to be honest, where it could have been my brother and Julie on it, and it was in the context of an update of getting in trouble at school that day.
Okay. All right. Have you looked at, in your phone at all to see if there is one?
No, I haven't. I have not gone into my iCloud and scoured the last few years. There definitely hasn't been one. If there was, it would be years old.
That may be true, but given the fact that there are statements being made about this relationship, and it seems like text communication years prior to the death of John O'Keefe obviously, suggests that there is potentially some deeper relationship than there is, which is sort of one of the reasons why we're here trying to figure it out. Yeah. And if there is something that is a group text message, something like that would be recoverable, that would be helpful, because if it's something as innocuous as my 3-year-old did something crazy at school and was sent to the principal's office, and they just both happened to be on the text thread, then obviously that particularly if the text thread originated with you and you just happened to put them both on it because you knew both of them. So do you have any memory of including both of them on a text thread, or?
I think it's definitely highly likely I did. Because they both would tease me about getting in trouble at school. Yeah. And it's highly possible I did do that. It's a while ago, so I mean, I have to go back and definitely verify that, but it's possible that I definitely did.
Okay, that would be helpful.
Okay.
You can, I think that finding any group text messages or text messages, that involve both Julie and your brother would be very helpful, because I think that is that and these interviews, I think, are the most direct path to really painting the picture of what this relationship or relationship was all about in reality.
Yeah.
So if you wouldn't mind doing that, and unfortunately time is kind of the essence. We're kind of in a time crunch, so if you can sort of dedicate yourself to that, that would be
going to my iCloud.
That would be very helpful.
My husband will have to help me.
And we'll see if we can get you any more particulars on that. But that would be very helpful.
Okay.
All right. But your understanding is that there may be some of these group text messages that may relate to your son, where both your brother and Julie Albert were on the same text thread. But beyond that, are you aware of any other text communications or any other communications between your brother and the Alberts?
No.
And you'd have no reason to believe that there were any?
No, correct.
Okay, and it seemed, and is it your statement that basically that this whole relationship runs through you?
Absolutely, it is absolutely for me, and my brother has friends that I see and I'm friendly with, and but it's through me.
Okay, and how, I think you already said it, but how often do you communicate? Were you communicating with Julie around in the last 3 years? How many times per day or per week would you say?
So once my son kind of started elementary years, maybe once or twice a week, checking in on life stuff. So yeah, once or twice a week after she was done watching my son.
And that kind of corresponded with this, with the death of John O'Keefe. Is that accurate? He started school a couple years ago?
So that's 2022. So he started kindergarten the fall of 2021. So the year John passed away was first year of kindergarten. So yes. Sorry, it's just the years. With COVID and everything, things just blend together.
Okay. And did you know John O'Keefe?
No.
Did you know any of the other, you've obviously been following the case somewhat in the media.
Trying to stay off social media, but yes.
Well, in the regular media.
Yes.
Did you know any of the other people that have been involved with this case, witnesses or?
I mean, I know who Brian Albert is. I know who Jen McCabe is. Like, I know who they are.
Yeah.
If I went to a sporting event and I saw them, I'd be like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?" But that's the extent of how well I knew them.
Okay.
Or know them.
So your relationship with Julie and Chris Albert didn't really, carry over into these other relationships with these other witnesses.
Yeah, because they're either connected to them through a sibling or marriage, and honestly, they're all much older than me. Mm-hmm. So Julie's 5 years, but Chris and Brian, Nicole and Jen, even though we all grew up in Canton, they're 10 years or so older than me. So I know who they are just because they have a lot of siblings, but that's really the extent of it.
Okay. All right. So I guess of everyone who you're aware of who was involved with the case, the two people, the three people that you know the best would be obviously your brother.
Yeah.
and then Julie and Chris Albert.
Correct. Yeah.
And then everybody else is a not even an acquaintance.
Correct. Yeah.
You know,
like
you're familiar with them, but that's pretty much it.
Correct. That's correct.
Okay. And in terms of your communications with Courtney, is it?
I'm Courtney.
In terms of your communications with Julie,
Yeah.
what do you call on the phone? Do you talk in person? Do you text? Do you use like secure messaging apps, like WhatsApp, and
kind of a little bit of everything. We'll talk on the phone. We'll text through iMessage, so we're not using any kind of certain service. Or sometimes, honestly, I bump into her, So everything really. If we order pizza and we go to D&E, we'll sit there and chit chat with Chris. So it's all three, like in person, call each other on the phone, or text each other through the iPhone.
All right, and obviously you patronize the pizza parlor.
Yeah.
So you run into them there.
Yeah.
I think Julie indicated that she may have been over to your brother's house on one occasion, and that you may have been there on that occasion, but she couldn't fill in much of the detail there. Do you have any recollection of that at all?
No. If she did, I was not there.
Okay.
So, no.
Okay. Are you aware of anyone involved in the matter of Commonwealth v. Karen Reed, the death of John O'Keefe, any of the witnesses ever babysitting for your brother?
No.
Okay.
No.
And in terms of all the witnesses who you're aware of, who would you say are the ones that are most acquainted with your brother?
So the witnesses meeting, like Jen McCabe?
Yeah, all of those.
I mean, I guess Julie and Chris, because of my friendship with them.
Because of your friendship. Okay.
But the others...
You're not aware of any closer relationship than
No.
Julie and Chris? Okay.
Yeah.
Did Julie indicate at a time that she was proud of your brother and wanted to get him a gift?
So a few days after John's passing, my brother, along with other detectives, were starting to, do their investigation and question all of these people that Julie knew. And I had seen her. She said to me, wow, like, your brother's really doing a good job. He's explaining the process. He's patient. He's making everyone feel kind of calm during this kind of crazy situation. I'm really proud of I'm really proud of him. I want to do something nice for him because I'm just really proud of him. And that's just kind of who Julie is. So I had said to Michael, I sent it through a text. Hey, I saw Julie. She's really proud. She wants to get you a gift. And it was because 3 days of being away, like, he was gone for 3 days doing this investigative work. I was proud of him. It was like a big thing happening in our town. And I was just said it and like, hey, I'm really proud of you as a sister. You're doing a good job, and other people are noticing it. There was never a gift given. There was never anything beyond me saying that as, hey, I'm really proud as your older sister, like, you're doing this big thing. And his response to me was, don't get me a gift, get Elizabeth a gift. and it was a joke because Elizabeth was home with the two boys. My nephew was 2-year-old and they had a newborn. She was home for 3 days straight while he was gone doing all of his whatever he needed to do. And, you know, he was in the doghouse, so he was like, if anybody deserves an award for anything right now, it's Elizabeth. She's been doing everything by herself with the boys. And he kind of said that to me more as like a joke. If you don't get me a gift, get Elizabeth one. She's stuck home with the boys. And that was really the extent of that conversation around a gift.
Okay. But there was never a gift given.
Correct. There was never a gift.
Okay. And Julie knew John O'Keefe reasonably well. Is that
Yeah.
a fair statement?
My understanding, because they lived on the same street on Meadows Ave for several years.
Did they live right next to each other? Or?
There's like 1 or 2 houses in between them.
Oh, okay. But regardless, they knew each other fairly well. So,
Yeah.
And this was obviously, as you say, a huge story in Canton.
Yeah.
Right. It's become a big story everywhere, it seems, but it was a big story in Canton, at least, from the outset. And so it would be natural for Julie, who knows the deceased, and who also knows, through you, one of the primary investigators on the case, to ask questions about the investigation. Did she ask a lot of questions?
She never asked me, and I never asked my brother.
She never asked any questions?
She never asked. She never asked. She was respectful to the process. She was respectful to the process and to my brother to not even use me to try to get information. She never asked me. I never asked my brother. I support my brother, but I don't want to know the details of his work. It's just, it's not my business. It's not my business. I don't want to know. And my brother's never given me information that wasn't either being on the news that day or imminent. So we just never talked about it.
So your brother would talk to you about the case, but the information that he gave you, you'd see on the news in short order, or
he never.
It's already on the news?
His extent of talking to me about the case was, "Hey, I'm going to be out working, out late. Could you check on Elizabeth?" Or I would just say, "Hey, how you doing? Do you need anything?" And be like, "Yeah, you need help, Elizabeth," or "I'll take the boys." You know, when he was working hours doing all the investigative work, it was more of, how can I help you? How can I support you? And that was really it.
Okay. So because it would be human nature to, when, and you're kind of sitting in the middle here, and it's a tough situation.
Yeah.
Because if your brother's on one side doing the investigation, and someone who,
Lost a friend.
Who lost a friend,
Yeah.
and who you have, somewhat of a reasonably close relationship with. People want answers.
Yeah,
and so you're the conduit to get those answers, for people. So it kind of puts you in a not a great position, in my view. And so I think only, human nature would take over in some ways.
Yeah.
It'd be take a very disciplined person not to ask really any questions regarding, the case.
Yeah. And I respect them both. I respect my brother and what he needed to do for his job to not go there. And Julie, she respected me enough to not even ask. And we all wanted the process to go as it needed to go, to find the answer, to find the justice, to find whoever did it for that family. And however it needed to go, that wasn't like, we needed to just let the state police handle it. And even though it would have been easy, like you said, oh, you're his sister, see what you can find out, she never asked me. And I never, and even if she did, I would never ask my brother. But she didn't ask me, and I didn't ask my brother because, quite frankly, I didn't want to know, and he would never tell me. So we just didn't talk about it.
Ken Barrios,
Yes, sir.
do you have anything further?
No, I do not. Actually, what I will ask you is, besides June, did you talk about the case with anyone?
My husband, like, I talked about what then proceeded to happen in social media afterwards with my family, and then that's what I would talk about more. Honestly, I think right afterwards, the investigation happened, the charges were made, and then it was like quiet, and then only until last April, when all this other stuff happened, is when everyone's life got turned upside down. And then we talked more about that stuff, this what I personally call the social media trial that's been going on out there. Then I talk about that because it dovetails into my kids' pictures being put out there.
Yeah.
It dovetails into the harassment and the threats that my nephews have been given. But that's what we've talked about, because those are real life, imminent threats to my, like, I have people banging on my door right now because they know my parents are now living with me, and, that's what we've been talking about. That's really the extent of it.
Okay, thank you.
And in terms of, obviously, a lot has been going on with this case.
Mm-hmm.
Has anyone come to, and in open court, they're discussing your brother's, alleged or relationship with Julie and Chris Albert? Are you
Yes.
aware of that?
Yes.
Has anyone ever come to you to ask you, and by your account, you are the person who is the commonality between those two groups of people, your brother on one side and Julie and Chris Albert on the other. Has anyone ever come to you in the fashion that we have and tried to ask you questions that might clarify the relationship that's being discussed?
Yeah, so shockingly, no. My husband and I, early on, to protect our own children, we shut down all social. We said we cannot put our kids in this crossfire. It really wasn't up until last week that my husband was home, working from home. His doorbell rang. A guy was at the door waving a badge that said, "I'm from the Boston Globe," and started asking questions about, does Michael Proctor live here? What do you know about the O'Keefe murder? And started asking questions. My husband's like, "I'm not answering anything. Please get off my property," and close the door. In my gut, I don't believe that was a Boston Globe reporter.
He had a badge?
My husband said he waved a badge really quickly, but my husband didn't say, "Hey, can I see that?" And I was like, you should have asked and took a picture of it.
Was it actually like a police badge, like a metal badge?
No,
or was it like a media
thing.
Something?
Yeah, it was more like a media thing, which being skeptical about everything going on and things like that, that's like the only thing that's ever come kind of onto our house, like onto someone coming to our property. So I don't know if that really was a Boston Globe reporter. I don't know if it was someone else, but that's really the only thing that we've had.
Aside from this apparent member of the media, no law enforcement, be it federal law enforcement, state law enforcement, or local law enforcement, has come to you to ask these questions?
No, nobody.
No member of the defense team?
No.
Be it an attorney or an investigator from the defense team?
Nope, nobody has come.
No one's come, and that includes people that you told that you weren't going to submit to an interview. That you told to go away. No one has come to you at all.
No, nobody's come to me.
Response.
This is the first time anyone's ever asked me questions.
Okay. And are you aware of anyone trying to ask these questions to
other people?
To other people, Julie, Chris.
Well, I know. Well, I don't even know if they were brought into the FBI grand jury, to be honest. No, Colin was. So Julie and Chris, from my understanding, were not brought in by the FBI. Colin was. And I don't believe Julie and Chris have had anyone else. I mean, I know they were recently brought in by you guys. Potentially the prosecution is, like, the DA's office has talked to them, but
you're not aware of it?
No.
Okay.
I take the stance of, at least I know the better in this, because I just,
Sure.
This is already a fiasco. I don't want to insert myself in this.
Okay. Well, we appreciate your time in coming down. I must say that recovering any of these group text messages that you might be a part of, I view as being extremely important, because if there's talk about text messages being out there, until we find out what they are, it leaves it up open to speculation, and they can be anything at all, right?
Yeah.
If we don't know what they are, then they can be anything that anyone says that they are.
Yeah.
So
honestly, if there was, it would be in the context of how I described a group text laughing about my son getting in trouble at preschool, because Julie would update us. She would sometimes send a text to me, my mom, and my dad and say, I just picked up. He got... I chuckle because if you met him, this would not be funny, but I chuckle because he got walked out of preschool by the principal. He got in trouble. Papa and BB, who that's what we call my parents. What are we going to do with this guy? Like, in that kind of joking way. It is very possible I sent a group text back, because my brother would absolutely love to hear that, saying, oh my God, Michael, like, Julie said this. Like, that is absolutely possible. I'd have to go back and actually find in my iCloud that group text, if there was one sent. That is the context of how any group text would have been sent that included my brother and Julie.
If you can do that, that would be extremely important.
Okay.
And your best ballpark guesstimate of when that would have happened, given your son's age.
So my son went to St. John's when he was 3 and 4. So he would have been, oh my God. So he was at St. John's in 2019 and 2020.
So you believe if there's anything to that potential memory that you have,
yeah, it would have been the years at St. John's. Yeah.
In that time frame, 19 and 20.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you have anything else that you wanted us to ask, that you're that you thought we would ask? Do you have anything that you want to add?
No, I think the one thing you did ask me, because you did really hit it on the head. I'm in the middle, and Julie, who's someone I'm close with and watched my kids, friend died, and my brother was the lead investigator. Obviously, why wouldn't people want to ask me, hey, like, what is Michael saying? And if you didn't ask me, I wanted to make it explicitly clear that I respect my brother and his profession and his role in this too much to even go there. And Julie respects me as much as her friend to not even go there either. And we just never talked about it. It was more about, hey, especially with this past year, how are your parents doing? My parents were 72, and is your mom okay? And it would really just be in the context of how can we help you guys kind of get through this. And that was really what Julie and I have talked to the last year. And with my brother, it's honestly, hey Mike, I know you're going through a lot, and if you want to come over for a beer and sit down with Andres and I, come. We don't talk about anything. He brings his 2 Goldens, I have a Golden, and we sit there and we play with our dogs. And that's the role I've played for my brother through all this, is someone that's not going to complicate his life beyond his current world with his profession, and he's got 2 young boys and everything else going on. And I just want you guys to know that my concern is just my brother's well-being and supporting him as my brother, and him as a detective is a whole other world that he leads, and I call it his corporate side. I have my corporate side, and we're just brother and sister. So I don't touch that, and I respect him too much to even want to know, to be honest. So I'm glad you asked that.
Okay. Nothing further.
I don't have anything further. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
If there's nothing further, we'll conclude the interview. The time now is 5:52 p.m. Monday, March 25th, 2024.